This episode is brought to you by Lumina Growth Lab. At Lumina, we help professional learning and development companies who are struggling with predictable lead flow, a sniper approach to attracting the ideal clients, and a system that qualifies leads so they can have a smoother sales process, finally have scalability, and ultimately take their business to the next level. Most of the time, our clients come to us frustrated because nothing seems to work outside of word of mouth and referral-based lead generation. But with the right strategy and support, they're able to confidently add new channels of lead gen, leading to a packed pipeline that creates sustainable revenue and year-over-year growth for cheaper than ever before because of the use of AI technologies. If that sounds like you or someone you know, connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'd be happy to have a conversation with you about unlocking your business's potential. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to the Marketing Matrix. I'm your host, Lisanne Murphy, and today I am joined by the wonderful and talented and wise Vernon Webb. Vernon, thank you so much for coming onto the show today.
Thank you for having me, Lisanne.
Guys, I am so excited for this conversation. I feel like I'm capturing the thoughts of a legend here. When I met Vernon, I was really excited because of how he's based his work, and it's a method that I'm familiar with as well. And I've never heard anyone else ever talk about it outside of the program that I've been in. So I'm really excited. So I'm just dropped that little hook for you there. But let me take a moment to introduce this incredible man, and then we're going to dive into our conversation. So Vernon Webb brings 40 plus years of experience, education, and commitment in the field of neuroscience. He earned his master's level of certification from the Institute of Psych Orientology and a degree in business administration from California State University, Northridge. He has had the pleasure of leading training programs in mindfulness and emotional intelligence for a plethora of companies and organizations, including AT&T, California State Bar Association, Metro, KPMG, McDonald's, Southern California Edison, U.S. Air Force Space Division, U.S. Justice Department, and the U.S. Treasury Department. He was personally trained by Jose Silva, founder of the Silva Method International, a world-renowned mind development organization with programs taught in over 100 foreign countries and in more than 30 foreign languages. Vernon Webb is widely recognized as one of the nation's foremost authorities on mind development. He is an award-winning trainer and sought-after speaker who's occasionally featured on television, radio, and other media outlets. His transformative methods have impacted leaders, organizations, and audiences across the country. So guys, wherever you are, if that doesn't excite you, I don't know what will, but wherever you are, give Vernon a huge round of applause. We're so excited to dive into this conversation. So Vernon, thank you so much for coming today and spending some time with me on the Marketing Matrix.
I appreciate your having me, Lisanne.
Okay, so for people that aren't as familiar with you and your journey, give us a little bit of a background in terms of did you do leadership consulting before you found the Silva Method and then you implemented the Silva Method, or did the Silva Method start your journey with wanting to do this? I'm super curious about that.
Most people are. Actually, I found the Silva Method by accident, as most things will happen. A friend of mine and I used to get together and jog. And this particular day that we were going to go jogging, he said, "Look, I need another 30 minutes before I can come down. Be right down. Hold on for a minute." So I picked up a magazine back in the day called Gentleman's Quarterly. And I was flipping through the magazine and found an article entitled "Looking for the Silva Lining." And so as I started reading it, because I'd always been interested in what the mind was capable of doing, I found that they gave free introductory lectures then. And so I called them and I signed up and decided I wanted to do the training. I was impressed. I really was impressed with the changes that I was able to affect in my life. My instructor was Bert Goldman, and I told him, I said, I'd like to take the training, but at the time I was working for the Rapid Transit District, which is going way back for those who live in Los Angeles. And I said, I can't tell you what's going to be my schedule for the next week or two. I said, however, it's been rumored within the department that RTD is going to go on strike. RTD has never been on strike before, but if they go on strike, I'll have plenty of time. He said, great, I'll see you in the class. And I'm thinking, I just told you I didn't know, they don't know, and you're going to tell me you'll see me in the class. Okay, well, at 12 o'clock, I had the late shift, And all of a sudden, the union president came through and said, strike, 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 strike. We all got up and walked out, and RTD was on strike, and I took Silva Mind Control.
That is such a wild story. I love that so much. Okay, so and I should have even started with this. I'm familiar with the Silva method because I was introduced to it through Mind Valley. They had a program teaching the Silva method. And so for people, most people on the who's listening probably don't know what that is. So let's give them some context. What is the Silva Mind Control methodology? Tell me about that.
Well, to begin with, Lisanne, I started Silva back in 1977. And Jose, I have to admit, way ahead of his time. No one has been able to duplicate what he has been able to do, and that is to show people how to become psychic. Now, I'm going to define psychic ability as the ability to perceive information through other than your five physical senses. People refer to it as ESP, extra sense. It's something we've always been there. We just never knew how to cultivate it and take advantage of it. So when Jose started Silva Mind Control, he was working with his kids because he was concerned about education for them. He knew that education was the way to move forward, but they weren't doing well in school. So having a background in electronics, he knew that if he could teach his children how to reduce the resistance in their brain, they would absorb more information. He tried hypnosis. That was fine, but it didn't give him what he really, really wanted. So he started other techniques. And then one day while he was working with one of his kids, he was giving them information, asking them questions, and he would formulate the question in his mind, and then he would ask them the question. This particular day, his daughter, Isabel, gave him the answer before he asked the question. He was formulating the question, who is the 16th president? And before he could ask it, she said, Abraham Lincoln. And he said, I didn't ask you the question. She said, but that's the answer. And she said, yeah, but I didn't ask you the question. And so then he knew he had hit on something. He called a Dr. Ryan at Harvard, I think it was, back in the day. He says, I think I've taught my children how to be psychic. He says, no, you can't teach people how to be psychic. He says, I think I have, doctor. He said, no, maybe she was psychic before you started working with her, but you can't teach people how to be psychic. He said, no, I think I've done that. So he went back. He continued working with his kids. Their grades shot up. The kids in the neighborhood said, how did your grades get to be so good? And I was working with my dad. He tells us to close our eyes and relax. So they asked Jose, help them. Their grades shot up. The parents came in and said, look, the kids are doing great in school. What are you doing? And he explained to them. He said, well, we want to learn how to do that. And that was the beginning of the Silva Mind Control method.
I love it. I love it. Okay. So and give like people, is it how would you like you gave a little bit of a hint of like, closing your eyes, quieting your mind. Like what is it that allows us to access these, sometimes people, like you said, sometimes people call them like almost like supernatural powers that we have access to with our
Yeah.
brain.
We have a conscious and a subconscious mind. Everybody knows that for the most part. But we don't know how to access the most powerful part of our brain, which is the subconscious mind. When I'm talking with clients who have come to me about coaching, I will explain to them, you are where you are because of what you think and believe. Wrap it around feelings. And once you change that, then you can change the way that you're moving through life. So it's one thing, your conscious mind being here, your subconscious mind being here. If you can come down, slow your brain waves so that you're here, that's fine and that's going to work for you. But you do that every night when you go to sleep. What you want to do is establish a line of communication between the conscious and the subconscious. Because once you're able to establish that line of communication between the conscious and the subconscious, you can reprogram the way you think, and you can tell your subconscious mind, I do this, I don't want to do that anymore, I want to do this. And the subconscious mind with spaced repetition will give you exactly what you're asking for. But the bulk of your mental capabilities lies in the subconscious mind.
Super interesting. So, what are some of the results or like impacts that you've seen with the people? I know you've worked for decades, but just pick a few. of the things that have changed, whether it's intentionally or even like unintentional consequences of reprogramming that connection with the subconscious mind that you're talking about.
Let me share with you my own story, Lisanne. When I was 5 years old, I knew every car on the road. I mean, and my mother and my father thought I was like happening because I knew. They said, "Vernon, what color? What kind of car is that?" I'd go to the front, I'd look at it. I go to the back, I'd look at it. I say, "It's an Oldsmobile," and they just thought I was all that. And I knew that they thought that was a lot, so I continued to do that. But as I came to be a little bit older, I found out that my mother and my father had challenges. The challenges that they had were around alcohol. And so my brothers and I saw and heard things that young kids shouldn't have to see and hear. And that impacted us. Now, you would think, well, yeah, that was a long time ago. But what you need to be aware of is the fact that the subconscious mind remembers everything without a doubt. And what you're doing is you're forming the belief system that is the foundation for what you believe to be true. So if your mother and your father told you that you were dumb, and the first 7 years you didn't know any different, so you accepted the fact that you were dumb. You'll never amount to anything. You're slow in math. And all you had to do was hear it from somebody who you respected, believe it, and that's how it would go. Now, again, you would say, well, that's been years. I shouldn't have to do that now. No, that's your belief system. Your belief system formed it, and all you've done over the years is develop it. And it's all in the subconscious mind. It slows you down. You have certain beliefs about yourself. If you think that you're unattractive, you'll never amount to anything. You could be absolutely gorgeous, but in your mind, you're ugly, you're unattractive, and
Mm.
nobody's ever going to want to be with you. So you think you've got to overcompensate one way or another. For women, I've learned their currency is their once they think that they're not beautiful, then they're not they feel, not always, but they will feel that they'll never be successful. They'll never be able to have a husband if that's what they want. And so that's the way they'll go through life. Can you change it? Yes, but it requires some effort.
How much I don't know what the right question is here, like whether it's how much effort or how much time, but like how do you change those core beliefs that are even sometimes we're not even conscious of them because like you say they were imprinted so early in childhood
Mhm.
that we
Mhm.
accept them as true and we don't even recognize that it's a belief. To us it's
Mhm.
reality, right? So like
Mhm.
how do you go about changing those beliefs and like what's the effort required?
When I'm talking with my clients about affecting change, first of all, we're hardwired not to change, which means that's strike one. We have been, which is not a bad thing per se, but because we are hardwired not to change, we think there's nothing I can do about it, and this is what it is. You've got to find the time to 10 to 15 minutes once a day to sit by yourself. Now, most people would struggle with that because if you sit by yourself, then you're only going to start thinking about you. And if you have not learned to be your best friend, then why would you want to spend time with somebody you don't like? You could turn on the TV, the radio, go visit your cousin Irving, anything but sit there with that person that you don't like, which is you. So that's the biggest challenge that most people have, to realize I can change, I have the desire to change, and I'm worthy of the change. We suffer from worthiness. We don't think that we're worthy of the things that we want. And when people say that we're dumb or stupid and society piles on, then we just accept that as being true. Simple as that. So, in order to affect change, you've got to be able to sit quietly, close your eyes, and learn how to focus on lowering your brain waves. And most people will say, when I'm talking with clients, they say, well, yeah, I meditate. I'm like, great. How often do you meditate? Once, twice, maybe 3 times a month. I go, okay. And for how long do you meditate? They said, oh, 5 minutes maybe. I'm like, okay. You're not looking to affect any change. If you
Mm.
don't do it, it's like building a muscle. If you've got a muscle, you want to build a body. You don't go to the gym and spend 5 or 10 minutes there once or twice a week and think, by next week I should be like ripped. Okay. You're like, what happened to it didn't work that way. You've got to have the desire to do it on a regular basis. And that's where, it's sometimes you've got to have somebody like me to be in touch with you and say, so how were your sessions mentally reprogramming your mind? Oh, well, then at the end, it's like, how badly, as they say, do you want this? Do you want to change your belief or do you want to continue doing what you're doing? What stops people from doing what it is that they do is fear. Now,
Mm.
there are a couple of different ways you can look at fear. Fear is an acronym. FEAR is false evidence appearing real, or fear can be defined as a negative expectation, which means that if you fear something, you're expecting something bad to happen. There are only two natural fears. There's a fear of loud noises, and there is the fear of falling. Every other fear that we have, we've learned. That's the bad news. The good news is if you've learned it, you can unlearn it. And once you unlearn it and you're clear on what it is that you want, you can really make some significant changes in your life.
So good. I love this. This is like so much gold being dropped and like so many breadcrumbs we could dive into. So, in my personal experience with meditation, I have found, and I think it's because it's the majority of the type of meditation that I've practiced, but like I've used meditation as a tool to bring a lot of peace to myself and heal wounds that were unaddressed. One of the
Hmm.
things that I really appreciated when I went through the Silva course and like what it made, why it captured my attention, was because it was meditation for, and you've brought it up multiple times, meditation for affecting change, meditation for creation of a future, meditation for allowing the subconscious to create the best solution for a scenario that's got you stuck, right?
Hmm.
For me personally, it's hard. It's easier for me to meditate on healing the past than it is for creating the future. And so my question for you is that purely just because I've spent more time practicing the other form of meditation as opposed to like future creation or belief changing or subconscious rewiring? Or am I missing something, or is it really harder? Like, I would love your thoughts on my personal experience with meditation and mindfulness.
Okay. First of all, in our conversation, just in the past 30 seconds, you've made things more difficult than they need to be because
Okay.
you've used the word hard. That's hard to do. And
Mm.
once you say it's hard, then your mind is going to be sure that you get what you want, and it is going to be hard. We call it negative programming, and it is trying to give you exactly what you want, which is what the subconscious mind is geared to do. What Jose did is he showed us that, first of all, the thinking that we have been repeating over and over again is how we program ourselves. And that programming sticks. I would venture to say that approximately we have about 65,000 thoughts a day. 90% of the thoughts that you have today will be the same thoughts you had yesterday and the day before that and the day before that. You see where I'm going with this? That's
Yeah,
how we
so it's
stay
it's
where we are.
really ingrained. Yeah.
Exactly. So you need to be aware of that. You want to be aware of what you say to yourself. Self talk. Self talk is what you say to you about you that nobody even hears. It's just what you think and you don't think anything about it. When I'm working with my clients and when I was training other people in Silva, that self talk slows you down. It negatively programs you. So you have to create what they know in NLP as a pattern interrupt. As soon as you hear something negative, and it took everything I could do to not interrupt you when you said, and it's hard. And I'm like, cancel, cancel. That's the pattern interrupt because you don't want your mind to accept that it's hard. Because if you accepted that it's hard, then it is going to be sure that it is hard and
Mm.
it'll find ways to make it hard. So as soon as you realize that that's the case, you say, cancel, cancel. So you tell your mind, I don't want to accept this. Now, the mind doesn't like a vacuum. So unless you put something else in there, it's going to create something like you just created. So if you say it's hard, it's going to believe it's hard. So you say, no, no, cancel, cancel. What do you want it to be? I want it to be easy. Well, all right then. Now we're talking. When you say that, boy, that was dumb of me. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Cancel, cancel, because I don't want it to be, I'm not dumb. What are you? I'm sharp. I'm intelligent. I'm always in the right place at the right time. The thoughts that you have about yourself are going to determine what you do and what you don't do. To people that don't know, it is going to appear to be that you're lucky, but you're not lucky. You created an end result that you want to achieve. And
Mhm.
science is now backing all of that. As a matter of fact, when people see that meditation first came out of the closet, I say, it was on the cover of Time magazine. And, you know, the science behind meditation. We're not talking about the woo woo. We're not talking about Asian secrets and Himalayans. And so, science, if you slow your brainwave levels down and you can do it with awareness, you're on your way. And this is science backed. Everything that I do is science backed. I have held back on telling people I can guarantee your success if you will do what I say, the way I say to do it, and how I say to do it, you're guaranteed. And that sounds, kind of strange and a little boastful, but this is a formula. If I put together two parts of hydrogen, one part of oxygen, what are the chances I'll get water?
Pretty
And
darn
people say,
high.
yeah. I said, would you bet against me? No. I said, why? Because it's a formula. So I'm telling you, and the many listeners that we have, if you will slow your brainwave levels down with awareness and learn how to create mental pictures, because the mind doesn't understand words, it only understands pictures, then you can affect change in your life. Now, the question is A, what do you want? Because most people don't know what they want. I mean, they're pretty sure they haven't got it, but they don't know what they want. And B, the reason that so many people struggle with, and this is a word I normally don't use, but it's become so common now, manifesting, you've got to be worthy. You've got to believe that you are worthy because you're a product of your belief system. And if you don't believe that you're worthy, you can sit up there and say, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm going to be rich, I'm going to be rich, and you're still struggling to pay the bills. So, how do you reprogram your mind? You've got to see it, hear it, feel it.
Mm,
And we've got techniques that show people exactly how to do that.
yeah,
Am I
I love
answering
that.
your question?
I love it so much. So here's a question here's something I've thought about quite a bit, and I would love your thoughts on this. I love how you said, most people don't know what they really want. And my question is like, how do we know what we really want? Because we have so much inundation from the media and from social media about like what we should want, right? Or like what a good life
Mm-hmm.
should look like.
Mm-hmm.
But like one of the things I've thought like in my visualization is like I'm like, do I really want that? Like, I mean, or am I just like because I saw someone on social media and it looked cool. Like, so yeah, again, so the question is like, how do we know what we really want versus like just being
What makes you
imposed by an
happy?
outside source?
Forgive me for interrupting.
Go
What
ahead.
makes you happy? What puts a smile on your face? Is it money? You're entitled to that. Is it relationships? How do you want to feel? And there are 7 areas in your life that you could begin to decide what it is that you really want. And when I'm talking with my clients, we go through those areas. We talk about your spirituality. We talk about your relationships. We talk about your health. And you have a belief system in each one of those areas. So, what puts a smile on your face, Lisanne?
Mm,
Is it helping people? Is
yeah,
it
I
feeling
I
good
do.
about yourself? You
Yeah, I
see the
mean,
smile on your face. Okay, that you enjoy helping people. That's why you do what you do. And
it's
the more
true.
you help people, the better you feel. But you have to be paid. If I could do this and not get paid and not have to worry about, if I were worried, money, then I love doing this, showing people how to meditate, how to create that line of communication. When I first took Silva, Bert Goldman told me, he said, when you finish with this, you're going to have to think about how you want to tell the people you know what you can do, because most of them will tell you that you can't do that. But I know that I can. They'll try and talk you out of it. So you need to just go slowly. And he was right, because when you tell people that you can perceive information about other people, even though you don't know them, even though they may be miles away, hundreds of miles away. And how do you do that? And what he really shared with us, he said, in this room, there is a man who is making a speech, and his speech is in this room right now. Everybody's looking around and they're not hearing. He said, there is a woman who is singing a song, and her song is in this room right now. Everybody's looking around. They're not hearing anything. He said, so what you're thinking is, what we're talking about is radio waves. Well, are there radio waves in this room? And everybody, of course, says, yeah. He said, have you seen any radio waves in this room? There goes one. You missed it. The mind is both a receiver and a transmitter. Once you learn how to tune in to a particular set of brain waves, you can perceive information about people and what's going on. Most the people who are considered to be psychic, who haven't been trained, do it naturally. But if you walk in the training room for Silva Mind Control and say, I want to learn how to be psychic, they say, okay, this is what you do. First of all, you learn that you can do this. You have the power. You've always had the power. You just didn't know. You hadn't been trained. It wasn't natural to you. So you learn how to relax your mind. You learn how to create certain patterns of thought. That which is negative, you want to eliminate. Negative self-talk. And the way that I explain that to people is, what would happen if you didn't clean your house for 2 weeks? What would it look like? They say, "Ooh." I said, "And for a month?" They said, "Oh." I said, "And after about 3 months, even the little creepy crawly creatures would leave." I said, "Look, clean this place up, we'll come back." But this is that's negative self-talk. You've got to be able to, again, be conscious of what you're saying. You want to become your best friend.
Hmm.
Anytime you think about Lisanne, it's got to be positive. Even though people are telling you otherwise, you need to sit down, reprogram your mind in terms of what you believe, what you want, what makes you happy. If it's helping
Hmm.
people, then you should focus on that. If it's making a lot of money, then that's what you should focus on. But you want to learn how to use your mind in a way that most people wouldn't believe. When
I
I
love that.
watch people do some incredible things with their mind, I was fortunate enough during the time that I was being trained by Jose to meet Uri Geller. And for those people who don't know Uri Geller, he is the Israeli who bends spoons. And Mexico gave him their first citizenship. They don't normally do that, but he told them where they could dig or drill for oil, and he was right. And he caused them to change their economy because they had so much. So I thought that was wild, but it was just the fact that he could do that. And Jose checked him out. He told Jose to write something scribbled and so forth. And then Jose did it without him seeing it. Then Yuri looked at him. He duplicated what Jose did. They held the two examples up, and Jose said, he's the real deal.
Wow.
Simple
It's
as that.
yeah, it's amazing to see what the brain is capable of and how we get so distracted and so we never access it, right?
Everything you want is either owned or controlled by somebody else. Let me repeat that. Everything that you want outside of your own personal development, everything that you want, money, house, love, everything that you want is either owned or controlled by somebody else. So if you don't like being around people, you're going to have a tough road to hoe, as my father used to tell me. It's all about people, which means that you probably don't like yourself since you're a people. You want to know how to create relationships with people and be persuasive so that people will give you or help you get what it is that you want. That's what makes a lot of people happy. And
Mm.
to those people that don't know any better, when people are lucky or it seems coincidental, it's not. They just didn't know that that's what the person attracted to them. Now we've got people who are talking about the quantum field and the impact, and that is exciting. But the three things that I know is you've got to become focused, which is what Da Vinci did. You've got to become relaxed and achieve a relaxed level of mind so that you can solve problems, which is what Edison did. And last but certainly not least, you've got to be able to use your imagination, which is what Albert Einstein did. Now, when somebody like Einstein, who is just, when they say that he's no Einstein, he is a genius without question. And where he got his idea about E equals MC squared, he was being interviewed and he said, I imagined what would it be like if I could move alongside a beam of light moving at the same speed that the light was moving. Now, I will tell you, light moves at a speed in excess of 186,000 miles per second. Now, I don't know about you, but to me, that's fast. So how do you run alongside or move alongside a beam of light moving at the same speed that the light was moving unless you do it in your mind? And it was Einstein who said imagination is more important than knowledge. When a genius tells you that, it bears looking into. Well, how can I improve my imagination? There we start.
I love it. Oh, this is so good. This is so good. So Vernon, who are so you in your bio it mentioned some of the clients that you work with. Do you primarily work with government organizations or with corporations? Do you work with big groups of people? Is it typically on a one-to-one basis? Like how do you typically work with the people that hire you?
Yes.
All of the above.
All of the above. I've worked with managers, presidents. I was in a prison, not by my own choice. They had us come in and teach mind control to prisoners. And that's when I worked with the Department of Justice. And so
Mm,
that was exciting. I worked with people who have all kinds of challenges or who have hit the glass ceiling. Now it's about getting past that. And when I work with women who were coming out of the service, and we thank them for their service, but now they've got to make that transition to civilian life. Well, when you've been in the service for a long time, that can be challenging. So, again, we were talking about makeovers from the inside out. I took care of the inside in terms of what they thought and believed. And we had some people come in and show them how they can become more attractive. And that makes a difference. So, being able to work with people who, first of all, have the desire to change. Most people would tell you that they don't think they can change. This is how I am, and that's what it is. No, it's not. But how strong is your desire? It takes desire, belief, and expectancy. Those three areas. And in weak desire, I will tell you, brings weak results.
that is so true.
You believe you can do it, and then the expectation is the end result. What's it going to look like when you have what it is that you say that you want? Can you attract someone with whom you feel would be worthy of who you are? Most people don't think that way. They just want to have somebody. I want to spend time with somebody. No, you need to attract somebody who is worthy of you. Well, for some people, if they've got a pulse, they're worthy, but you can pick and choose. You have more to offer than that.
I love it. So good. Well, Vernon, it has been seriously a joy having you, and I bet we could have probably a multiple hour conversation on these topics, and so we're gonna have to have you on again. But thank you so much
I'd be
for.
honored.
I want to for sure. I thank you so much for sharing your expertise and your experience and being so clear in your communication today. And so, um, how to so tell us a little bit about how people would get in touch with you or find you or learn more about the work that you do.
There are two places. One is on LinkedIn because that's got probably the most information about me. And also, I invite people to pick up a copy of my ebook. It chronicles my journey in mind development. And then, of course, the other is my website, groupleadership.com. Easy.
Perfect. Okay, guys. So I'm going to put the links to Vernon's web group leadership and his LinkedIn and his ebook. We'll put all those in the episode notes so you can link out to those directly. And yeah, this has just been such a rich conversation. So again, thank you so much
It's
for
been
coming
fun.
today.
Thank you for having me, Lisa, and I've enjoyed it.
Good, of course. So guys, wherever you are in the world, thank you so much for listening. We know that your time is valuable, so for you to spend some time with us means the absolute world. And until next time on the Marketing Matrix.